Hi, everybody. My name is Stephanie Kraft. My website is stephaniecraft.com. In this video, I'm going to be explaining an experience that I went through back in the year 2000. And the name of this video is The Ecstasy of Meeting God While Fighting for My Life. So during that time, back in 2000, I was very, very sick. And I was in bed for 6 months. And there was more to the illness after I got out of bed, but that was the time period that I'm talking about right now. So while in bed for 6 months, I could say the way that I feel that it happened was that God found me. So prior to that, I had been an atheist or an agnostic. I decided to stop believing in God when I was 10 as a result of a traumatic thing that had happened. And so with my 10-year-old mind trying to make sense of this world and quote unquote bad things that can happen, I couldn't figure that out. I could not reconcile that such a bad thing could happen and that there was a God. So my thinking was, if this can happen, then there is no God. And I remember walking home from school one day. I remember exactly where I was when I had that thought, and I decided right then and there, I'm going to stop believing in God now. And that lasted until I was 29. So for 19 years, I was atheist, agnostic, and I didn't believe in anything. I had also rejected all religion my entire life, and I still do. I'm not a follower or a believer in any religion at all. I also do not view God as personification of a being or an entity. I can get into my beliefs around what God is, maybe more in depth in another video, but basically I believe that God is the creator or the source of all that is. And so everything manifests from that source, and that we are all pieces of that source of creation. So getting back to my story, when I was in bed, I had a lot of time to just be and try to survive. It felt like every breath I took was hard. And so my focus was on survival. It was on just getting through time, through existing. And so I don't know how it happened, but it was in that state that it's hard to put it into words, but I guess you could say I met God. And it wasn't like a one-time event. It was more of this connecting. I don't think I've ever tried to explain this before, and I'm having a hard time putting it into words, but it was like that energy, that source energy was seeking me. I actually wasn't seeking. I was not in a seeking mode. I had just been through incredible, massive trauma and was still undergoing it. On top of fighting for my life in bed, I was a victim of pretty severe abuse at the same time as fighting my illness. And I had just lived through some severe traumatic abuse over a period of time, which contributed to my illness. And so without going into the details, because those details are really not important, but to understand that I was in a very compromised position with my health and well-being on every single level, financially, situationally, health, mentally, emotionally, having PTSD, and my father had just died, and I had just been his caretaker. I had moved across the country, dropped my life, gave away my belongings, came home to be his caretaker while I had already been sick myself, but that I put myself to the side and I was his full-time caretaker, and then he passed, and then I collapsed into bed with my illness for a long period of time. So in this state, I hadn't been seeking. However, leading up to this period of time in the bed, I had some incredible, massive awakening experiences that were opening me. And so while I was resting and trying to live, those months, those days, weeks and months in that bed, I communed. I guess you could say communed, became one. I wouldn't say became one with, because I was still me and here alive, but there was a communing of with God. And it's hard, like I said, it's hard to put this into words, but I'm trying my best and to just describe the experience. And there was, even though, like I said, I was very compromised and suffering on all levels of my being, extreme suffering, extreme on every level, there was this inner bliss and ecstasy that was happening, not consistently, but I was having it through periods of time. And I was writing in a journal sometimes because I couldn't contain this ecstasy and this bliss, and I wanted to kind of write it out. And it was the ecstasy or the bliss was stemming from this communing with the oneness that felt like it was coming to meet me, seeking me, finding me. So I wasn't seeking it. And that was the beauty of my experience, was that as a non-seeker and a non-believer, this came to me, this filled me, this gave me the will, it even felt like it was meeting my will. My will was meeting it to survive, to live, to make the decision to fight for my life. And that's all I had. All I had was my will. And I think by my will rising up, the will of God met me and carried me. So, I wanted to just share that, even in the midst of tremendous suffering and pain, we can be touched by the divine. And in those moments, there can be this exquisite, ecstatic, blissful feeling of joy inside, just of the knowing that we're connected to this powerful source of energy and creation and love and healing. And that can carry us through hardship, even when we have nothing, even when we're facing the loss of everything or being stripped of everything we've ever known and had, including our health, and not knowing what's coming next, not knowing anything about what is coming next. So you're in a state of pure nowness, the present moment, and survival. So in that state, having God seek you, meeting God, and being within and being one with that is really all you have and can carry you. So I just wanted to share this personal story, and I don't even know why, but I'm going to continue to share tidbits of my own story, and hopefully there's a reason for it and it can help anybody who happens upon this video that may be suffering and may be in a dire situation or in pain or having a health crisis. You know, I didn't try to have the enlightening experiences that I was having throughout that time, but they were happening to me. And so perhaps just by listening to the story, you can go deeper within and ask to be touched by the divine, by that love, by that oneness, by that powerful source of creation, the all that is, and be wrapped in that and have your will meet the will of God to carry you. So blessings, and I love you.